The cruel origin: you were born in 1917, the very year the world catches fire and the old gods are dragged into the streets to bleed. You come into the world in a Petrograd cellar that smells of boiled cabbage, stale beer, and the metallic tang of starvation. Your family house is less a home and more a damp trap, a scattering of nameless mud brick ruins and gray slush where the bread lines are long and the mercy is non-existent. To your father, a hollow-eyed veteran of a war that never ended, you aren't a son. You are a burden, a pretty goat that eats the rations he doesn't have. You don't remember much of childhood, only the hunger that made your mother chew sawdust-filled rice and spit it into your mouth like a bird. You grow up watching your younger siblings vanish. One froze in her sleep during the winter of 21, another was simply taken to a communal creche and never spoken of again. Your father looks at you with a look that isn't cruel, just calculating, weighing the cost of your soul against the price of a sack of flour. You are a commodity, a mouth to feed, a piece of inventory in a country that has decided people are just overhead expenses. The air in your village is thick with the scent of wet wool and wood smoke, and you learn early that silence is the only thing that keeps the switches from your thighs. The tragic promotion: congratulations. You've reached the age of 19, and while the rest of your generation is being chewed up by the industrial gears of the 5-year plan, you've been chosen for something special. A pale, plump official in a black leather coat, boots costing more than your father made in a lifetime, eyes you like a butcher eyeing a pig. He doesn't offer you a job. He offers you a vocation in the NKVD. It's a lucky break, they tell you. It's for your own good. Your father bows so low his forehead strikes the cold, frozen dirt, his face a mask of relief that you are finally someone else's problem. The transaction is cold and swift. No coins are exchanged in your sight, but you're lifted like luggage into the back of a black car that smells of gasoline and expensive tobacco. The wheels turn, and the only world you've ever known, the mud, the hunger, the silent mother, falls away into the gray mist. You are loaded into a system that treats you like something valuable for the first time, but only because you are now palace property. You are washed, fed, and inspected like a dog at a fair, and you are told that you have just won the grand prize. Fun, right? You've been upgraded, refined, and set on a path where you will never have to worry about a mud floor again, though you'll soon find that marble baths reek of rotting petals and incense just as much as cellars reek of rot. The brutal refinement: your training begins in the bowels of the Lubyanka, where the floors are warm as if they've been soaked in other people's fear. This is the longest part of your death. They don't bind your feet, but they bind your conscience until the bones of your morality snap and heal crooked. They shear your hair until your scalp feels smaller and exposed, your identity falling to the cold stone floor like pieces of a life you're no longer allowed to own. Every morning begins with a bell at 4 a.m. that cleaves your dreams in half, followed by the stinging pain of discipline if your posture isn't perfectly obedient. You are corrected with slaps. You are praised with warm water and extra crusts of bread. They use ivory rods, not for massages, but for the ritual of interrogation, to show you how a body can be broken without leaving a bruise. You learn to breathe through the pain. You learn that truth is whatever the party says it is, and you learn to lower your gaze at the exact respectful angle, so you don't see the blood blooming through the habits of those you are forced to break. Your boyhood recedes into a mask painted with powder and ideology. You're trained to walk without sound, to listen from corners, and to endure the sight of wandering hands and pleading eyes without recoiling. Every week, they insert new horrors into your mind. Lists of enemies, methods of persuasion, the sound of clinking chains and silent weeping that becomes the background music of your life. You are no longer a man. You are a walking instrument of the state, a velvet plum of the revolution, sweet on the outside and hard as a stone within. The gilded cage: by the time you're 25, you are a favorite of the machine. You are the fine linen and the heavy coats, and you eat winter pears and salted meat while the rest of the city gnaws on bone. You sit above the masses, yet you cannot choose your own breakfast. Every step you take is shadowed by reports and scrutiny. You have property, influence, and jewelry, but you are a statue, beautiful and untouchable and terrifying. You attend banquets that smell of sandalwood and expensive wine, but you are just a body to the state, something to be used until you are no longer useful. You learn the art of faking laughter and faking tears to please the masters who sit even higher than you. You watch your colleagues disappear like flies, and you smile through the introductions of their replacements, knowing that your turn is only a calendar page away. You live in a house that smells of incense and secrets, where the silk cushions feel like knives because you know the people who own them before you are now in a trench. You carry yourself with lower eyes, never blinking, because in the forbidden city of the party, a summons is either salvation or execution. You are valuable but hollow, a product that has been polished for others' pleasure and protection. You dream of fire and waking up anywhere else, but every day you wake up here, still owned, still performing, still breathing through the musk of shame that is soaked into your skin. The cold betrayal/downfall the wind shifts in 1937, and the transition from asset to overhead expense is as sudden and cold as winter frost. You are summoned not for a promotion, but to a quiet hallway with colder looks. The madam of the party doesn't look at you when she speaks. She says you've had a good run, and that your loyalty has grown suspicious. Maybe you were too close to the wrong minister, or maybe your price has just dropped because they found someone younger and more eager to kill. The master's look turns to ice, and suddenly, the people who once bowed to you won't even meet your eye. They drag you to the cold palace, the same damp, stone cage you sent so many others to rot in. Now it's yours. They strip you of your silk hair pins and gold-threaded robes, leaving you with nothing but the stinging memory of your sins. You try to plead, to point to your years of loyal, dignified service, but you realize that truth has no use here. You are dragged before a court where the bells toll as though announcing an execution, and you are forced to kneel on the stone steps until your knees burn. You repeat the sins they feed you: pride, sabotage, disobedience. Not because they are true, but because you are tired of the rod cracking your back. You are cast out, banished, and erased into a world that doesn't care if you stay or not. The final erasure you're in comes in a basement that smells of damp concrete and old blood. There is no trial, no witness, no last meal of sweet buns. Just a quick shot to the back of the head that makes the world go black before you can even scream. They lift you by your wrists and ankles, just like the luggage you were when they first bought you, and toss you into a mass pit behind the city wall. You are piled in with the drunk, the thief, and the enemies you helped create, your body already buzzing with flies before the dirt even covers you. There is no marker, no prayer, and no number. When the histories are written, they will celebrate the great leaders and the glorious revolution, but they will not mention you. You were never in the census, never written in the temple rolls, and you left behind no family, no children, no legacy. You were a ghost in a black coat, an unrecorded scream in a soundproofed room. All that remains of your existence is the faintest dent in a mattress and the stinging silence where a man used to be. You were beautiful, you were wanted, you were used, and finally, you were forgotten. Luck's fine until they decide your head should roll, right?